Hey everyone, I'm Mary Delgado with the Blockchain Herd. This is Bama, my sidekick. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and please don't forget to hit the like button and ask your friends to subscribe as well. So today I have a guest. He is Ben Weiss. He is the co-founder of CoinFlip, which is a Bitcoin ATM. So we're going to ask him a lot of questions and learn about the Bitcoin ATMs and have you look at all the description that I put down below so you can find out how to get in contact with Ben and his project. So welcome to the show.
Hey Mary, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about your story and how you got involved with crypto, and then also we'll segue on into how you actually started CoinFlip.
So CoinFlip's been around since 2015. One of our other co-founders was one of my really good friends from high school, and we just saw like it was very hard to buy Bitcoin in 2015, and there wasn't an easy way to do it. And especially if you were unbanked or underbanked, it was very hard to do. And we believe everyone should be able to buy Bitcoin easy, fast, and safely. So we saw a couple Bitcoin ATMs in Chicago, and it was a really good concept, but they were slow, or they didn't work, or they were just, really not up to standards. So we kind of took that Bitcoin ATM model and just scaled it nationwide. And we're in 43 states now, 1,300 ATMs. We have more ATMs than everyone else. So we basically just saw that Bitcoin ATM model and we just scaled it nationwide and made it a lot better than the ones we saw in 2015.
So how many customers are you up to now, Ben?
So we've processed over $1 billion in transactions. I think over 300,000 unique customers, and that keeps growing and growing every day, especially as we go into newer and newer areas that maybe underserved or more remote, or that people wouldn't even think about Bitcoin. You'd be surprised in almost every city and every state. No matter if it's North Dakota or California, people really do want Bitcoin.
So is this ATM, if you will, is it similar to the ATMs where you can just go with a card and then pop in your four-digit code and then pull out?
So it's actually cash only.
Okay.
So we take credit and debit cards online, but the whole point of the ATMs is so people can use physical cash to buy Bitcoin. Um, Cash is still king, and cash is still very important for a lot of segments of the population. I think 20 or 25% of people are unbanked or underbanked, or if you just want to buy a couple $100 of Bitcoin every week, bank fees and wire fees and waiting a week or two to get onboarded with an online exchange can be super inconvenient. So we're for customers who want a couple $100 every week, or large amounts too, and customers who are unbanked or underbanked.
So when you say unbanked or underbanked, what do you mean by that?
So unbanked would be someone who doesn't actually have access to banking or doesn't have a bank account. So these people may get paid in cash. They may be undocumented. They may be marginalized in other ways, and or the fees just might be too expensive. If you have a couple $100 in a bank account and it's running out every week and you're trying to put that paycheck in before that, those fees could really add up. And underbanked is people who have bank accounts, but because of fees or other reasons, it's not that practical for them to use them. There's also some areas of the country where there's banking deserts. So like even in New York City, there's way more bank branches in Manhattan than in like Brooklyn and Queens. So there's some areas of the country where people have to drive, 20, 30 minutes just to get to the bank.
So speaking of fees, are there any fees that are associated with your ATMs? And do you call them ATMs or are they BTMs?
They're really BTMs, but that just stands for Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah.
But they're not technically like legally ATMs really, because traditionally that's for credit and debit.
Mhm.
But BTMs is a cool name,
Yeah,
so we call them that.
I like it.
And the fees at CoinFlip, so it's 6.99% to buy and 4.99% to cash out. These are the lowest fees, in the Bitcoin ATM industry. A lot of competitors charge predatory fees around 18 to 20%, sometimes as high as 25. So we've consistently been the lowest of all the big operators and will continue to do so.
And from what I understand, you're the largest ATM producer, right? Or for Bitcoin.
Yeah, correct. So we don't actually manufacture them. We're the largest operator and owner of all the ATMs. We own every single one. We don't franchise them out or anything. So we have 1,300 ATMs in the U.S. in 43 states. So we're the largest in the U.S. and also worldwide. We control about 15% of all the ATMs.
How many cryptocurrencies do you have where you can buy and sell?
So Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Dash, Komodo, um, UCSD, Tron. There may be a couple more I'm missing. There's always some that go in and out, but we've consistently usually had around 8 or 9 that customers could buy or sell at the ATMs, and that's because we want to give people the most options. Even though I will say Bitcoin is still the dominant
Mm-hmm.
cryptocurrency for
Yeah,
sure.
Bitcoin's just it's going crazy right now. It's really good for our group, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, I think what's different this time with Bitcoin too is in 2017, I mean, that was fun, real fun times too. And a lot of people heard about and got into Bitcoin that didn't before. But this time around, you're seeing big companies, 100 million, $200 million of Bitcoin on their balance sheet because these companies are finally realizing it's more risky not to have Bitcoin than to have Bitcoin, or
right,
it's more risky to not have any exposure to it. So even if it's 5% or 2% or 1% of a huge company, these companies are making $100 million, $200 million buys, which they weren't really the institutions and companies weren't as involved as 2017. So I think that's very good for adoption that some of these big Fortune 500 companies are getting involved.
right. And I want to go back to your background, and then your co-founder, also Daniel. He's a cum laude, right? And so, I mean, it's not like you just
A
two
little
guys that
smarter than
got
me.
together and put this together. You're actually really smart guys.
Yeah,
So,
we
and
don't.
don't be modest. Just talk a little bit about yourself and Daniel, so then everyone could realize that these are really two smart guys behind the ATMs.
So we both grew up in Deerfield, Illinois. Went to Deerfield High School. It's just outside Chicago. He went to Northwestern. He had a degree in economics. I also did economics, but at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. So we don't always look smart, but I guess we're kind of smart. And then yeah, Daniel was on some list for highest cheap like cum laude or whatever it is. I was not, but so he's a little smarter than me. But he
That's
also had
okay.
internships. He had internships at Citadel, RJ O'Brien. He was back when Uber started. He worked at the ambassador program for them at Northwestern, and I think he was like the highest selling rep at Northwestern for Uber back then. I mean, that guy can sell anything. And for my like work experience background before CoinFlip, I just interned at the state's attorney's office in Chicago. So I had some, legal experience and stuff like that. I was going to go to law school after Vanderbilt, but Bitcoin kind of took over my life. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. So what was it for you that made you like really be all in with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Because everybody has that aha moment. What was it for you?
Well, part of it was that I realized most lawyers I know are very like overworked and miserable, and it takes like a lot of time to make a lot of money. So that was part of it. Is I didn't want to be a lawyer, and then the second part was like when I first heard about Bitcoin, I didn't really have a tech background, but I just like when I invest, I really look for asymmetric investments, like things that, are more likely to fail than not, but are going to have a huge payoff if they succeed. And that's kind of where I think Bitcoin was in like, 2013, 2014. So I just started getting into it then. And then after I got into it, I started reading more about the background and I was like, oh my God, this is actually going to change like how the world works 100%. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because it's basically for the first time like you can have like private property on the internet or like digital assets that like the issue with the Word document or an MP3 is like you can make a million copies of it, right? So there's
Right.
no scarcity. With Bitcoin, like if I have this one Bitcoin, no one else can have it, and that's what gives it value. And that was kind of the first time that issue on like a technology level has been solved,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. So
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean, the last 10 years speaks for itself, right? Of how Bitcoin's done.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's here
No.
to stay for sure. And from the indication of what everything's been running up. It's like a bull market right now, is what I see. Um, so, with your ATMs, is there any regulation that's involved with them?
So we're like, contrary to what people think, we're actually regulated pretty intensely. We spend a lot of money on compliance, legal fees, things like that. You're also operating in all 50 states. So, or, whatever states you operate in, you have to comply with their legal standards, their consumer protection, state money transmission laws if they apply, state privacy laws if they apply. Like you should see the privacy policy has to be a little different for every state. So, CoinFlip prouds itself on working proactively with regulators to educate and inform them on, the benefits of Bitcoin and blockchain, so you don't see, bad regulation. And to the extent that there is going to be good, there is going to be regulation, we'd like to have a seat at the table. And like, for instance, in New Jersey and in California, I've testified in front of the legislatures regarding some bills um, that went through there, and that the state was looking at, consumer protections and licensing and things like that. And a lot of the regulators just don't know that much about Bitcoin, but once they do hear about it, most government officials do want jobs in their state, and do want innovation. So I think once a lot of people get familiar with Bitcoin in the government, they actually want the business there.
Was that intimidating for you to go in front of everyone and
Um,
just?
at first, but you get used to it, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sort of no different than doing an interview like this.
yeah. Oh, this is easy. Come on now. um, so we were talking about earlier about how many you have over a dozen, cryptocurrencies. Are any plans to add any more?
We're always adding more. Um, there's like a whole process to get added to our ATMs. I don't handle that specifically, so I don't know which ones are like being considered right now, but I definitely know that there are some being considered, and that there usually is always a couple at any given time that are up for consideration, and we're always trying to bring on new coins.
All the time. Okay. And let's talk about your partners. Do you have any big partners that are involved with you?
I mean, it's mainly just us four co-founders, me, Daniel, Alan, and Chris, who we did not grow up with, but we met through the business. But we have a lot of partnerships with a lot of people, but the company's been more or less, just us four, bootstrapping it. And just the last 5 years has definitely been a crazy journey.
Right. I mean, that's awesome. You've got a lot of users right now. I mean, over 1,000 ATMs that are out there. Is the
Yeah.
main concentration in the Northeast? Is that where you have most of them?
Pretty much all over. I mean, West California, South, Midwest, Northeast. The only states, we're not in yet is like Alaska, Vermont, Rhode Island, Washington State, and New York, which we're working on those ones.
Right.
So it's pretty, we started in the Midwest, but now it's pretty much even all over. So.
So how are they visible? Like, is it something that I can, walk up to and I know that it's a Bitcoin ATM?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people find them online first. So like Coin ATM Radar has every single Bitcoin ATM in the world, not just CoinFlip ones. And you can see, what people charge, where they are, or, CoinFlip.tech has all the ones as well. But I think like you would know, if you were in a gas station or a mall and you saw one, it would, say CoinFlip Bitcoin ATM. But I think a lot of the business comes from, people seeing it online and then going to the location for sure.
Okay, because I haven't seen one. I wouldn't know where to look. I mean, I'd like to go find one. It would be kind of
Well, you're in
cool.
you're in Tampa.
Yeah, I am.
There's a bunch all over Tampa, St. Pete, um, If you go to coinflip.tech, you'll see a bunch of them. They're, convenience stores, gas stations. That's the typical store that they're in. Although sometimes it could be like, malls, restaurants, liquor stores.
So what are your plans as it relates to try to really get your message out? Obviously, being on my channel is one of them, and doing as many interviews as you can. But what are your plans moving forward for marketing?
um, Going on great shows like yours, getting the word out, working with government and regulators as needed, doing educational things like we've taught classes at Northwestern. We're upcoming doing a talk at the University of Texas. College campuses are great, and then the best way for awareness and adoption is just to put down as many ATMs as possible. We're also expanding our, we also have an OTC desk where people send wire transfers for Bitcoin. We're expanding that internationally, and then we're also early next year moving into Canada for the ATMs
Oh
as well.
wow! Congratulations. I would imagine that going to college campuses would be king because that's you really can get your the word out that way. The kids that are coming out of college will really. I guess that's how Facebook made it, right?
Yeah, and I mean,
It's
not just you get like great customers and great consumers, you also get great employees from like, every time we have a talk at a university, we probably have, 20 or 30 people apply for jobs, and they probably wouldn't have even, they would have probably tried and done like banking or like medicine or something else if they didn't hear about,
right.
Bitcoin on like I wish when I was in school, like it was still pretty early back then. So I'm sure there's definitely some kids in school that I could like talk to Bitcoin about, but it was like very far and few um between. So like the cool thing now is it seems like almost every campus has some sort of like blockchain or Bitcoin group, which is awesome.
So speaking of employees, do you have any employees? I know it's the four of you, right? So
Yeah.
as
So we have
owners,
about 200 employees total.
how many?
We 200 employees total.
You have 200 employees.
Yes, it's a very labor intensive business. I mean, just customer support alone, we have 40 employees. That's not something you can just outsource to a call center because we want like our customer support reps to, be qualified and know about Bitcoin and be able to answer, even technical questions about Bitcoin.
Mhm.
So, and the ATMs all physically need to get put down. The cash needs to get collected. So, yeah, and we're still hiring, probably 30 or 40, sometimes 50 people. The last few like months has been like we went from like 100 to 200 employees very
So that's
quickly.
nice. Not only do you have like these ATMs out there, but you actually have a customer service department for anyone that has any questions or concerns. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, 24/7, talk to a live person. I think, that's something we do that a lot of the competition doesn't. So.
So you were just talking about your competition. How many competitors are out there in your estimation?
So there's like I would say there's a bunch of people who might have 5 or 10 ATMs. There's two other companies that are close to us in ATMs, and then I would say there's another like three companies who have about like 500 or 600 ATMs, and then like after that it drops off pretty hard. So I think like the top 10 Bitcoin ATM operators in the U.S. control like 65 or 70% of the market. All of this is on coinatmradar.com. If you just search like top 10 operators, you can see exactly who has what. But I'd say there's like 5 or 6 like, pretty big companies. But then, there's also the guy who has a gas station who just puts in one Bitcoin ATM. But it could, because of like the regulation and like a lot of the upfront legal costs, like it could be hard, like it's a lot of investment if you don't do, more than like 50 ATMs, I think, just because like, the economies of scale and everything.
But nobody really compares to CoinFlip because you have the customer service 24/7. Your fees are really low. You have so many all over the world. So, um, nobody compares to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try and be humble about it, but I do think I do think CoinFlip is, the best Bitcoin ATM company, and we do our best to get Bitcoin to as many people as possible without charging high fees. We're always there to pick up the phone whenever anyone has questions, whether you're buying, $2,000 of Bitcoin or $20 of Bitcoin. Like we will do our best. to help you. And it's always been a dream of ours since, we were starting this to get as many people into Bitcoin as possible.
So if you can shake a crystal ball and see yourself in, 3 to 5 years from now, what do you see for CoinFlip?
Hopefully we'll be operating these ATMs in, like, 7, 8, 9, 10 countries, because the thing is, once you get the business model down, like, the regulations are different in each country and stuff like that, but the actual, like, business model is very repeatable. And, like, in any country, as long as you get it right, you can basically put these ATMs anywhere. Hopefully there's more regulatory clarity from the US, so that businesses aren't fleeing to Asia or offshore. I think that, like, the US is a great, like, part of why the US is such a great country is because tech, and, like, because the internet really was born here and made here and innovated here. And I hope, like, the cryptocurrency innovation stays in the US too, and the government basically doesn't kind of uh, make regulations, or also could have lack of regulations, like lack of regulatory clarity, that basically force people to innovate overseas instead of here.
So then, for a person that is just learning, like me, a newbie, if you will, if I wanted to take my cash and then purchase some crypto, it's as easy as just going to your ATM, putting some cash in, and then getting crypto,
You just need a phone and some cash.
and then that's it.
That's it.
Okay, so tell my viewers then how they can get in touch with CoinFlip to get more information and to start using your ATMs.
Awesome. So our website, coinflip.tech, our social media, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff is CoinFlip ATM. And then my personal is Ben CoinFlip if anyone wants to get in touch with me.
Okay. Now, this is my final question that I'll ask you, because I kind of ask it to a lot of the guests that I have on. If you had to ask yourself a question, what would that question be?
We sort of touched on it, but, like, Bitcoin is so high tech. Why why is your main business about people using cash to buy it? And my answer is, and I didn't even know in the beginning, like, why cash was so important for Bitcoin, instead of, like, just buying it on Coinbase. But it's like, you really don't realize how many people in this country are, like, unbanked and underbanked. And that was, like, something that I sort of wish I knew from the beginning. Like, I kind of learned that over time with CoinFlip, but, like, I wish I knew that in the beginning, just for making sure, like, we could reach the right customer.
Yeah, but you're doing that now. So your goal is to reach the customer. Yeah, really give it outreach, which is a really good thing. So
Exactly.
yeah, okay. Well, I really appreciate you being on the blockchain herd. Thank you so much for letting my viewers know about the ATMs that are out there with CoinFlip, and I absolutely wish you and your partners so much success.
Thanks so much, Mary. I appreciate it. And
All right.
enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for subscribing to my channel. Really appreciate that. Don't forget to hit the like button. And as always, you heard it here on the Blockchain Herd.